Howdy and welcome into Forte Catholic. I'm so glad that you are here. If you're one of our normal listeners, we have a very special show today because this show is in conjunction with the Seek Conference from our friends over at Focus. If you are watching from the conference, welcome in to possibly your first episode of Forte Catholic ever. We had an absolute blast recording today. Liv Harrison and I teamed up to record this episode, and we did like a college edition. So it's kind of the normal show, normal segments, but we kind of go back in time a little bit. Me, about a decade, and Liv, about 38 decades to go back to her time in college. We have an absolute blast. I hope that you guys enjoy the show. If you do, you can find Forte Catholic on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks. Well, hello there, and welcome into Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll. That is Olivia Harrison. How are you, Liv?
Well, hello, Taylor. I'm great. How are you?
So, what this show is, for those of you who don't know, says you're either listening on the normal podcast feed, where you can find Forte Catholic wherever you can find it, wherever you listen to podcasts, or on YouTube, or you're watching this at the Seek Conference. So, hello. So, a year ago, we were able to record live at SLS, which is another one of Focus's conferences. And so Father Anthony and I were there. We were shoved into a very small van for some reason. And we recorded live at the conference. But, conferences don't exist anymore. At least the way that, with people and that sort of thing. So Seek is online this year. And they said, hey, do you want to be a part of this again? And I said, sure. And I asked Liv about it. And the reason that she's acting so prim and proper, regular listeners of the show will know that that doesn't sound like Liv, is because she knows that she has to extra behave today. So, Liv, thank you for being here. And thank you for behaving so far.
Anything for you, Taylor.
Well, so we want to do a little bit of introductions. This is actually kind of nice because, obviously we have to introduce ourselves for new listeners who are listening at the Seek Conference, but also, we haven't introduced ourselves in a very long time on the show.
Have we ever? I don't know. People are probably like, is that your mother? Who is that anyway?
Right,
I don't even know
the age works out.
I gave that one to you.
But, it's one of those things where it's I just kind of, if you listen to the show, you kind of know us, right? Or
Maybe.
it's just you kind of dive in. And it's just these are just people making fun of each other and then maybe talking about Jesus towards the end, something like that. So you kind of figure it out. But I do think it's kind of funny, having a public show. What do people know about us?
Ooh.
And some people know. If there are some people who are crazy enough to have listened to all 223 episodes, and those people know me better than my kids do. Legitimately,
well, your
they
kids
know
are also
me better.
tiny, but yes.
Right. I have an 8-year-old son named Chris. I have a 6-year-old daughter named Maggie, and a 3-year-old daughter named Felicity, and she's my favorite, and she's also Liv's
She's
favorite.
a cutie pie.
So
I love them all. I really do.
So but if you're just listening the first time, or it's always funny to me for people who just randomly listen to an episode. What do you think about us?
We should have them write bios
random.
For us. Who is
Right.
Taylor? Who is Liv?
So I'm Taylor Schroll. I'm the president of Forte Catholic, which is a Catholic nonprofit all about evangelization. So when we used to have events in person, I would travel the country and speak and lead worship for parish events or conferences and that sort of thing, and then I also did this show and digital outreach. And now ever since the world shut down, everybody wants to do digital outreach, so I'm also helping and producing helping other people produce their online content. Like you, Olivia, you have a podcast called Talk to Me, and I produce that.
You do.
And it's a slog, I gotta tell you.
It's your favorite. Actually, I've given you a nice long break, so I'm letting you.
Right.
I'm letting you recover from my first season.
Yeah, boy, those last few weeks, I needed a couple of months to recover.
It was
but that's who I am. So I always get this mixed up. I have said multiple times at a conference, I am the husband of 3 and father of 1. It's that, but reversed.
We don't believe in that.
Of 1,
yeah, no, not any longer.
Father of 3. The other 2 women don't know. No, I'm just kidding. They know. No, husband of 1, father of 3.
There you go.
I grew up in the church, thought it was super boring. until I had a conversion. So now it's one of those things where I'm just trying to make the church fun again. I'm trying to bring the joy of the gospel back to the church. That's who I am. Who is Olivia, lovingly known as Olivia Eugene Harrison here on the show?
Yes. Yes, Taylor is a giver. He is just so selfless.
I'm like the giving tree, and you've cut me down to the stump.
I like to say that Taylor is the little brother I never asked for, because I have 3 brothers, and apparently God thought, but we want to give you one more, and that's kind of our relationship. It's very sibling if you continue to listen. But my name,
well, I think it's more like mom and son.
Oh no, it's not. I gave that to you today. I'm being so kind. It is definitely like sister at college and infant in a diaper. So anyway, that is Taylor and I, but my name is Liv Harrison, and we actually met at a conference, Taylor and I, and that's kind of how we got our start. I am a speaker. I'm an MC. I was emceeing that conference that I met Taylor at, and I do have a podcast called Talk to Me with Liv Harrison, the best producer in the world. Just happens to be Taylor Schroll. He has a great ear. That is true.
I have 2, actually.
You do. You have 2 of them. Use both.
Only one works.
I only pay for one. All right.
The double ear package costs a lot more.
And by that, I mean my husband pays for all the things. I am married.
Your husband's like, he works and makes lots of money. He made more money than anyone listening to this in a day than most of us will in our entire lifetime. It's a very shady character.
I'm married to Jeff Bezos. I'm married to a guy named Nathan. We're high school sweethearts. Anyway. And he's very kind. But I do have 2 kids. I have a son that, by the time this airs, is 18. So that's weird. And he's a senior. And I have a daughter who's 10 and in 5th grade.
I just realized that people watching this at Seek, like, we're joking that you're my mom.
I am not.
Like, you're literally the age of their parents. They're all 18.
But they want to hang out with me and not their parents. That's the difference.
Right, exactly. That sounds like a recipe for someone to get arrested.
It's fine if you're 18 and you graduate high school. Like, we can hang out and be friends. Other than that, no. So anyway, I do a lot of youth ministry and young adult. But I also do radio, and I have a women's conference called Genius Women's Conference. And that sounds like a lot of things. So anyway, and I do this show out of the kindness of my heart. This is basically me volunteering right now. Like, I feel like this is in the, I'm fulfilling part of the Bible at this moment. Yeah. So this is just for me to get to heaven.
It doesn't count towards getting to heaven when it's court mandated service projects.
I think I'm going to die, and Jesus is going to be like, we've been waiting. Like, this is, you did all the time that we asked you to do. So thank you for getting me out of purgatory. Thank you, Taylor.
So for those of you who have never heard the show before, I have a rotating group of co-hosts. I do not have to deal with Liv every week. I put out a show once a week, but I have a co-host every week, but they only have to come on once a month. So it's not only it's you, it's Allison Sullivan, who's a speaker here locally, Bearded Blevins, who's the brother of Ninja, like that ninja, the one who's
the one that you're thinking
breaks
of,
the world.
That guy.
Yeah. When you hear the word ninja, and if it's not a person with a throwing star, but if it's a person who streams on Twitch, his that brother, guy. And then also the coolest priest in the world, Father Anthony Sciarappa in Pittsburgh. 3 of those 4 are doing this as court-mandated service projects to get out of their criminal activities.
Man, and you keep telling me you won't stamp my paper, and I bring it in all the time, and you're like, no, I'm not counting it. He makes me wear an orange vest.
It's whenever quarantine is over, I'll be like, you know what? I'll stamp it in person whenever this is over, which will be never.
I'm gonna give you the biggest bear hug when this is over. You're gonna be like, stop. He's gonna love it.
So so that's a little bit about who we are. So to kind of kick off the show, I was like, it would be fun to talk about, we're joking that you're old, but like 2 college students at this conference, I'm super old. I'm 31 years old. I'm married. I have 3 kids, and they're all your son's age. You know,
exactly. You have more
so
kids
if
than
I'm
me.
old,
you're way old.
You're like, oh, Liv's like the grandma I never met. She passed away before I
can out-energize anybody. And you are way older than me in so many ways, but yes, you are old, Taylor. We're both old compared to these kids.
Wisdom,
but we're so cool.
knowledge. But so I was like, well, let's go back. let's go back and let's reminisce about college Taylor and college Liv.
Okay, wait.
So
Before we do this, would we have been friends in college? I want you to think about that whilst we're sharing our college.
100% no. We already know that.
Think about it. You're not even going to take a moment to think.
Why discern something I know the answer to? It's like that whole perpetual sermon. Oh, should I date this person? I don't know. Just go take him out on a date. Stop thinking about it. Would I have been friends with Liv in college? No. Maybe out of pity or out of like love of neighbor, I would have been like, oh, God requires me to be nice to this person. But I wouldn't have liked it.
You would have been my best friend. Okay, go ahead. Talk about college. I want to hear about
I was like Taylor. 6 when you were in college. So, I mean, but did they even have college? Like, were women allowed to go to college?
We fought hard.
When
I remember marching with the signs. Yeah. I got out of my wagon, and I told Pa to drop me off in front of the Capitol building. Yeah, Taylor. It was just like that. So I took a horse to college. Well, I did go to Texas Tech, so I could have taken a horse to college. That's in Lubbock, Texas, for anybody that wants to look
that moment you're joking about your life, and then you realize that it was true.
I'm like, wait a second. Did I have a horse in college? I could have. I mean, it is West Texas, so that could have been true. But no, I went to college when they had electricity. Yeah, we did. Now, I'll tell you this. Wow. We did not have Facebook when I was in college. So how's that? Does that make me old for you, Taylor? Or a cell phone? I did have a car phone that was like a Tom Cruise movie that was like cemented to, what is this called? Like the stick shift.
I like that you look at the imaginary thing that you're imagining that only you can see with your mind eye, and you said, what is this? Like, we're going to be able to help.
So, yeah. So I had one of those. I had a car phone, but it wasn't connected. But I would pretend that I would talk on the car phone when I was driving to Lubbock, because it was a 10-hour drive from Houston, which now I can do in 8. But, so I didn't have a cell phone.
So we've been talking about your criminal record, but now you're getting into it's time for the asylum record.
Stop. I grew up in college with chat rooms and no cell phones, and I'm trying to think of what else has changed dramatically. Those are the 2 biggest things, like having a cell phone and having like actual like social media. But yeah, other than that, we went there and I had a computer, Taylor. And it wasn't like with a floppy disk. Like, you don't even know what that is. Okay.
I do, but no one watching does.
It was a real, what was it? It was a Compaq. It was a Presario. And the 5 founders of Compaq lived in my neighborhood, actually. Now that's Hewlett Packard, HP. Everybody has, like, I don't know. Nobody has
No one
now.
knows any of these words. This is a strange tangent we've
to
got
make
now.
people, like, go and learn. I'm teaching the people, Taylor.
Come here, kids. I'm going to teach you about Compaq.
And how to churn butter in your dorm room.
That's spelled with a Q. Try to figure out where the Q is.
That's right. Look at you. You are old, Taylor. So that was my college experience. No, I mean, I don't know. So there you go.
So you were at Texas Tech.
Was.
Little old Liv at 18 years old.
I was 17. I was actually 17 in college.
What year was this? What year was your freshman year in college?
1995. And I was 17 because I started school when I was 4. So I was young. There was nothing to do. I grew up in Louisiana. They were like, I don't know. What could these kids do? Pick up pecans or go to school? And I was like, great, I'll do that.
So what did you study in college?
Oh, so many things, Taylor. But I did graduate in 3.5 years. This is a funny story. I graduated in 3.5 years, but the first year of college, I came home. And my father's 100% Italian from New Jersey, okay? His parents are both from Italy. I come home and I had a 1.9 as my overall grade point average for the entire year. Not a class, not a semester, a whole year, okay? Freshman year.
I don't know how to do that. Like, I never had below a 3.5. Like, I don't know how to get a 1.9.
Well, guess what I was
doing? I
doing?
couldn't possibly think about it.
What do you think I was doing instead?
Picking pecans, getting in trouble, being in insane asylums, probably in jail.
Taylor.
Riding a horse.
I'm an extrovert. I loved the dorm. I was like, this is a 24/7 party. I would just go door to door to door to door until people would go to sleep and they kick me out and I go to the next room. Like, I loved the dorm. I would just like, and so finally I would end up in a friend's room and she would be getting ready for her 8 o'clock. And I had an 8 o'clock class too, but I would go to bed after she got dressed and I would sleep all day and then do all that again. And so I come home with a 1.9 and my father lost his mind. Okay, very Italian, lots of words I can't say on this podcast. And he was like, let me explain this to you. Because I didn't have to pay for anything. I'm talking, I had it all, right? Like anything. And he was like, I will give all of your money to anybody else at that flippin' school if you ever come home with anything less than a B. And I was like, and he was like, Liv, I'm going to go to the financial aid line. I didn't even know what a financial aid line was. And he was like, I'm going to go to the financial aid line and I'm going to find a kid and I'm going to give that kid all of your money. And that kid's going to go to college because you don't know what the blah, 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 lots of words. And so then I had a dilemma. I had an ethical dilemma. I was like, well, that kid could have a free college education. Like, I should let my dad. Can you not see that happening in my head? I was like,
yeah, Liv is the classic people pleaser, where she's not sure whether she wants her dad to be happy with her or the random person she met once.
I was like, I mean, this is that kid's best day. I was like, Dad, let's go find that kid. And then my dad was like, what are you, flipping stupid? And that was a really fun conversation. However, I did graduate 2.5 years later, and I graduated with 3.7. So thank you very much. I was then on Dean's list ever since, and President's list and all the things. But that was because I then decided to go to school. So go to school, kids.
I'm so thankful that you told that story, just because, like, in the history of our friendship, I've never heard you do any impersonation of anyone.
I do impersonations all the time.
And you just impersonated your dad, and it was hilarious. It was so good. I love that, and I want you to like talk like that all the time.
I do voices. I do actually. I do a lot of voices. I don't know if you know that, but I do. I can do almost any accent.
No, I gave you the win.
I'm done.
Don't fail by doing the rest of them.
Thank you, Taylor. I'll slip them in from now on.
So it's funny because I was like, we didn't talk beforehand about these stories. We were just like, oh, let's just talk about, like who we were in college, how we grew. Like one of my questions was going to be like, oh, what were some of your flaws, like your freshman year that you worked out later? You answered that question super easy by saying, like, you led college by saying, I got a 1.9 my freshman year.
I did.
I think I got a 4.0 my freshman year.
I believe that. You're a good kid.
I was an athlete, I was in ministry, and I was in all of my classes. And I got like a 4.0, maybe a 3.99, something like that.
What a nerd.
I know, right? I've just always been more successful than Liv.
That's true. And I wasn't doing anything cool. Like, it's not like I was out like partying and like at a rave. I was literally in the dorm talking to people. Weirdo. That totally sums us up. Of course you were like amazing. So, okay, tell me about more of Taylor. Like, tell us something interesting, Taylor. Like, we get it. You're smart. You're athletic. We know.
Yeah, I'm amazing. What else do you want to know?
You're like, and those are my college stories.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
So here's what I learned about myself. My freshman year, you were just a bad student. I had students
social.
Down. But like both of us are extroverts, and I've always been super extroverted, and I didn't realize about it had to be pointed out to me by my friends in college. Like it's one of those things that like when you live together all the time, you get to know people very much, right? Where it's like and like, I don't know about your friends, but my friends, they were very honest when it came to their compliments about how awesome I was, and very honest about when they were like, Taylor, you need to stop it, like about everything, right?
Yeah.
And here's what I noticed about my one thing that I like vividly remember was that like being so extroverted, anytime I walk into a room, I can own the room. I can walk in and I'm telling stories and I'm the loudest and I'm the most, like my hands are going everywhere. Like I'm owning whatever room that I'm in. And I realized that I thought that was a huge benefit. And I was being the life of the party and I was making everybody's day. But what I didn't realize is that it just shut everybody up, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody else got the chance to like talk or like have input or these sorts of things. And like during my freshman year, it was like we had like our like what do you call it? What's the introduction to college called? It's been a long time.
Like your well, now that you're I didn't even go to A&M, and I'm thinking I was gonna say fish camp, and I'm like, I didn't even go to A&M. Like orientation.
Yes, I was like,
win.
Indoctrination.
Okay.
Indoctrination. It's not indoctrination.
I was like, we didn't even go to A&M. Either one of us. Why are these words coming to me? All those Aggies.
So at orientation, like, so we had one like I had my orientation, then I was like helping with orientation the next year.
Oh, okay, you were one of those.
My friend, because like obviously the school wants to put their best foot forward. So they invited my friends and I got to tag along. So I was there at orientation, and my friends were saying like, okay, like last year when you're meeting new people, like you got nervous, you just talked the whole time. Like, can you try to just like
not
chill? And I was like, oh, and that was like the first time that I realized like, oh, like I like this thing that I thought was a gift and like is a gift, like being extroverted and like being, funny and like being able to talk to people to kind of, make connections and all these sorts of things, like is a gift, but it could also be something that kind of brought me back. And I realized that like in high school, it was like my whole life I had been that person. It took somebody who loved me to be like, hey, sometimes you can like step over people. And I'm like, yes, I enjoy doing that. And they're like, you probably shouldn't, And so, it still takes a while. It still slips up every now and then. That was the first time that I had like the realization that like, oh, I should like let other people talk.
I should rein that in.
Right. And I've since like read books about like good leaders and good leadership, where it's like they always say that like the best leaders are people who come in and they make you feel like you're the most important person in the room, right? Like that's somebody that people want to follow, where like people who think they're leaders and are striving for leadership are like, they want everybody to know that they are the best person in the room. And, it took a little bit for that transition to happen. And obviously, we can all still slip back into that. But that was one of the big things that I learned there in college. One of the things that I learned that, like in high school, I never stood up to anybody in authority. Ever.
You?
Like I would like avoid authorities. Like they were like, hey, you have to stay at school, and I would just leave school. But I never like directly confronted people, to where like one of my biggest regrets in life. So when I played football in high school, I had surgery in the summer before my senior year. And so I couldn't, like, I literally got my body cut open to fix a huge problem where I could have died immediately, and they had to fix the problem. So I missed a few weeks of two-a-days right before my senior year. And my coaches just blackballed me. They were like, oh, you skipped two-a-days. I was like, I was being cut open. Like, I didn't skip. I was preventing my own death.
Right.
And, so they just blackballed me, and like here I was, like one of the best athletes in the state.
Senior year, and they did that to you?
Yes, I was one of the best athletes in the state, and they're just like, you're not going to see on the field because you skipped two-a-days. To the point where like I came back after missing a month of not being able to walk, and I was the second fastest person on the team at practice that day. And they're like, you skipped two-a-days, you're out of shape. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, if I'm out of shape, what are the other 60 people behind me doing?
Them? You can see them, right? Like they're here.
Right. And I just never stood up to them. I was just like, oh, like they're leaders. They know what's best, like they're whatever. Like to be a good person, to be a good Christian, to be a good whatever, I have to like be like submit to leadership. Right. And I never pushed back at all. And then when I got to college, I had a lot of situations. So I went to a Catholic school that wasn't very Catholic, like didn't have good Catholic identity. There was a lot of very not Catholic things being taught, even in the theology program and all kind of, it was just kind of a weird thing to where like it, like in college was where I learned I first learned the lesson that I could push back against authority. And then after about a year of that, I learned how I could push back on authority respectfully and actually work towards like the goal that I was trying to get. Right. Yeah. So like my first realization when I'm a freshman, kind of in that sophomore year, was like, you're wrong and this is dumb. So I was like learning. I was like, I need to stand up for myself or stand up for anything. Like there were people in my classes teaching like heresies as church teaching. They're like, the Catholic Church teaches blank. And I'd be like, no, it doesn't actually, and like, I kind of ruffled a lot of feathers and I made all of my teachers hate me. And then over the course of that, I was like, okay, like I don't agree with what's going on and I need to step up to this and kind of stand up to this, but I can do it in a way, like I just hear my mom in my head, like you catch more, I forget what the bug is. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar, right? Yeah. To where it's I
wrote that I can use 1812, so that was mine.
Oh yes, it was during the war. It was. That war.
I was embroidering it as I made the American flag. Yes.
Yeah. You were on one of my coins. That's where I recognize you
from.
That's true.
That is. You're welcome.
But that was it. Where I was like, okay, like I can, because a lot of people so here you're a lot of college students, watching this, and it's like super on fire about your faith. You're at this conference,
right.
you're loving your faith, and you're going to go home, you're going to be like, yeah, I want to fight for my faith. And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, that's a good notion, but what is the primary goal that you want to achieve here? You want people to grow closer to Christ. You want people to stop sinning. Like whatever. What is the best method to achieve that? Right. And I think so often when we're literally young, me in high school, me starting college, and as I'm starting to become an adult in college, right, was where I started learning, like, through a lot of trial and error, that like, okay, I can do other things. I don't have to just look like I'm fighting and berating people, or even just arguing to get the thing that I wanted. And ultimately, long story short, we can't get into it, I got one of those heretics fired. And it wasn't until I started using the honey and not fighting back, because like essentially she was preaching heresy.
Oh my gosh.
And I started like not arguing with her, but like, I raised my hand and we had a discussion, and had a dissenting opinion. I was like, actually, that's not what the church teaches. This is what the church teaches. And she started yelling and berating me, and I was able to keep quiet.
Oh, nice.
Instead of doing what I did like 2 years before and just kind of like arguing and kind of escalating and all these things. I was able to just be quiet. She kicked me out of the class, and it wasn't teaching the heresy, because no one teaching heresy was getting fired, but it was how she treated me that got her fired. And there we go. A heretic got fired from a Catholic school because I was nice about it.
Because I was nice. Did you end up graduating from that college?
I did. I that was a big thing of discernment. It's like, well, do I stay here and like learn where I have to fight for my faith, or do I go somewhere that's super Catholic, like Franciscan, or somewhere with a great Newman Center, like a lot of the schools at Focus have? And ultimately, I decided, I'm going to stay here and fight, and I grew a lot through it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a little break. We're going to come back. We're going to play one of our favorite games that we've created here. It's called Freestyle Preaching, where the two of us have to come up with sermons, minute-long sermons on the spot. And then at the end of the show, we'll come back to our college experiences. So do not go anywhere. Hey there. I hope that you're enjoying the show so far. If you are, please hit that like button, the subscribe button, wherever you are watching or listening to this. Search Forte Catholic wherever you listen to podcasts, or over on youtube.com/Forte Catholic. It would mean a bunch to me. Thanks. You're the best. I think you're cool, but Jesus loves you more than I do. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll. That is Olivia Newton-John. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to play one of our favorite games here on the show. This is a game that I've been playing in my personal life for a while. We started playing it about a year ago on the show, and it's called Freestyle Preaching. So both of us have worked in youth and young adult ministry for quite some time. We've both given 1,000 talks, and it's one of those things where, like, sometimes, your youth minister or your campus minister, sometimes they're really prepared and they really know what they're going to say. Sometimes your pastor, he really prays about his homily, and he studies, and he has like these deep things. And then other times it's like a random Sunday, and your pastor was out a little late with his friends the night before, or your youth minister had a little bit too much to drink, something like that. And their preaching wasn't quite as prayerful or as prepared as they may like, or as they may pretend. So that's essentially what this game is, because we've both been doing this for such a long time that what we try to do is we each give each other 3 words, and we have to then preach for 60 seconds and include those 3 words into the preaching. And we're going to do this a college style. So it's our college-themed freestyle preaching, Forte Catholic, right here with me and Liv. Liv, would you like to go first preaching, or would you like me to go first?
Oh, God. I tell you what, I'm more nervous about doing this than I think anything else I do.
That's why I love this game, because it makes my co-host really uncomfortable.
It does. It's like, oh my gosh. I'll do whatever you want, Taylor. I will. I can either way. I'm prepared. I'm prepared either way.
Okay.
I said either and either.
Either and either. And you put that out into the ether. So here's your 3 words. You ready for this?
Okay.
I'm going to give you your 3 words, and then you have about a split second to think about it. and then we will start the timer.
Oh, God.
Are you ready? Your words
Yes.
are Raider, because you were a Red Raider, Texas Tech.
Because I went to Tech. I
Raider,
got that.
dorm, and social media.
Wait, what is the topic overall, though?
That's for you to decide.
Just
3,
Jesus?
2, and 1.
Hello, everyone. It's Seek. Welcome. I'm just kidding. First of all, I want to say that what is incredible about living on campus in a dorm is that you can literally find anyone from any walk of life. Whether you were really into your school and you're like, yes, I'm so for the Red Raiders if you go to Texas Tech and you're just like one of those diehards, you know, or if you forgot what the other word is besides Raider and dorm. What was the other word, Taylor?
Starting to sound like a real homily.
You're not going to tell me what it was?
Nope.
I'm just going to make up things. And you're eating ramen. And I'm trying to think of like college things. You can meet a lot of people in the dorm. I think I learned more about myself as a person. Not maybe quite as much about Jesus, but I did learn this. I learned how to talk to other people about Jesus because of the dorm and because I was such a good Red Raider and that third word.
That was exactly a minute, which is impressive in itself. You argued with yourself
I totally
about the
forgot.
premise of the segment, which you're not supposed to do whilst giving a sermon. The second word that you were looking for was dorm, which you said 4 times. The third,
Oh, I said it like 12 times.
the third word was social media. So you did not.
Social media.
You know what you did? I'm going to go ahead and grade that as a 1.9.
That's fair. See, I didn't have social media in college, so therefore that's why I put in ramen.
Right. Okay. All right.
I didn't know.
I'm going to
That
show you
is
guys
so
how this
funny.
is done. Please give me
Okay.
three words. That
I need to write it down. Father Anthony writes them down. I think
literally
Levins
all of
does
us do.
too.
We've all been doing this for a long time.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. I want to do over.
You can't. It's too late. Everyone has seen you fail.
Oh man. That's not new and different. Okay, are you ready?
I've been ready for a long time. I don't know why you're stalling for me to go.
Backpack, gas station burrito, laundry.
All right. Ready?
It's pretty collegey. Yeah.
So back when I was in college, I had to learn how to do laundry. I had never done laundry in my entire life. My mom always took care of it for me. So I had to learn how to do it. You know, I had to YouTube it. I had to call my mom. And then it was one of those things where you have, in the dorm, you have to argue with everybody because somebody's trying to wash and you're trying to wash and there's only one washer and dryer for a whole flight of stairs. At least that's how it was at my school. But, some things I was growing in, some things I was staying the same. I was still going to be that guy that ate the gas station burrito. But ultimately, a lot of things stay the same because we really are who we are. God made us a certain way, but he also calls us to grow. So, what are the tools that you're going to put in your backpack after this conference to go home and grow as a man, grow as a woman, grow as a Catholic, grow as a disciple? I learned how to do laundry. Did you learn how to pray this weekend? Did you learn how to really enter into mass? Did you learn that you needed to go to confession because you're a terrible person, you haven't gone in many, many years? What are those things that you can put in your backpack, take home with you from this conference to be a better Catholic man or woman of God? That's how you do it.
I believe. You changed my life. I wasn't sure, but that was it. Thank you, Taylor.
You're welcome. I'm a pro at this.
You are a pro.
We're getting the grades that we both got in college.
That's true. 3.99.
3.99. You're
Coming
right.
from the kid that got a 1.9.
It could have been a little better. I kind of got off to a little rocky start. You can dock 0.01 points for that.
The burrito, you kind of just shoved in. But I'll take it. I'm taking it. It's fine. And I mean, seriously, is there anything better than a gas station burrito? There is not.
All right. Are you ready for your words?
I get another chance?
I'm giving you a chance.
Like college? So I can redeem myself?
This is your sophomore year.
This is sophomore year.
After your dad talked to you in that Italian accent and said,
Olivia, what the flip is wrong with you?
He's talked to you now. He's given you the pep talk.
Okay.
And now you get a chance to redeem yourself. So here we go.
Okay, I'm forgetting the financial aid kid. This is just me. Got it.
All right, here we go. Lectio Divina, 8 a.m. class, and report cards.
Okay. The biggest mistake I made in college was that I signed up for 8 a.m. classes. You've got to know yourself. You need to prepare yourself in the best way possible. So that means you need to set yourself up for success. Every time I scheduled an 8 o'clock, I never made it. Like, let's be honest, my report card absolutely reflected that, you know? I remember that I was one night at, I don't know, some type of spaghetti dinner thing where I loved at the student center, the Catholic Student Center, they would entice us with free food. It was always pasta, which I thought, oh, this is so fancy. And then I grew up as an adult and I was like, oh, it's because pasta is like 38 cents a box, you know? So I would have these spaghetti dinners and I'm there and I knew I had an 8 o'clock, but I was like, I'm going to stick around and just stay here. And the entire night was on Lectio Divina. And I'd never heard of that before. And not only did I stay, but then I joined a small group and it literally changed my life. And I learned not to have any more 8 o'clocks. And then you could see that on my report card when I started getting good grades. So remember that. Know yourself, put yourself in success, and go to those free dinners because you might learn something that you didn't know before in your faith.
That is how you MC a conference. Here's the thing. I love that you always, there's a very good job. Much better than the first one.
It's because I got lost in my head the first time about what is the other word.
So you got a 1.9
Sorry,
GPA.
everybody, I was rusty.
By the time you graduated, you had a mid 3. So now you're at about you got a good grade now. So you're at about a 2.4 now. Like we're slowly going up the scale. No, you did good. You did good.
Okay, all right. President's list at least. It is hard to recover from a 1.9. Let me just say that. Okay, everybody. Not everybody can do that.
Well, I'm proud of you. You've done us all great service. So, but again, we got to see if I can upgrade to that 4.0. So, last one. Then we're moving on to our final segment. What you got for me?
You ready?
I am.
Note cards, micro fridge. Did you have those?
Yes.
Do you know what that is? Okay, good. And I want to change it actually now. Can I do the soft serve? You know how like all the cafeterias always had like a soft serve machine? Yeah. Okay. All
right, here we go. So back in Olivia's day, they used to have these things called note cards. Now we have cellular devices that we can, write our notes on here. One of the greatest things that I did in high school was to cheat on tests. I would write instead of writing note cards, I would write on my leg. Because, what's the teacher going to do? Ask to see your leg? Like, that's illegal. They can't do that. So that's why I wrote the answers. But after I had my conversion and I got into college, I was trying to change my life, right? So here I am in my dorm, and I had all kinds of things in my mini fridge. So college students, what is in your mini fridge at home in your dorm? Is it something that is giving you life? Or something that's making you a little hazy, right? So, that's something in the physical sense. But, what about you? Like, are you a mini fridge or are you a large fridge like me? I'm large and very cold-hearted. But what are you filling yourself with? Like, is it the stuff that's going to bring you life? Is it the stuff that's going to, or is it the stuff that's going to make your life a little bit worse? There's a story actually from when I was in college. I started working at 2 places, Chick-fil-A and a retreat center. Both places had soft serve ice cream to where you would make the cones, right? When you first started doing it, you were really bad at it. They're supposed to look all pretty like they do in the commercials. And it's just like a plop of ice cream sitting in the cone. That's terrible, right? But with practice and for me, a large person, kind of brutish, it took a lot of finesse to get it to be able to be perfect. And by the time I left Chick-fil-A, I had perfected the craft. And when I was working and serving the Lord at this retreat center, the kids loved it. I was able to take this thing that meant literally nothing from my previous life, making ice cream cones, and I was able to bring joy to these kids by making them 18 swirls high ice cream cones that were perfect. So even if there's things from your previous life, from before your conversion, from before this conference, God still wants to use all of that stuff. God can take all things and work them for the benefit of His great glory. One of my favorite Bible verses is from Genesis 50:20, where Joseph is meeting, Joseph, the guy with the many colors. There's too many J's in the Bible. It's very confusing. Sorry, Jesus. And he's meeting his brothers, and it's the moment where he's in charge of all the food. He's the number 2 man in the entire all of the Egypt, right? And they come back and they're like, we want food. And he's like, well, what you did, you tried to kill me, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. So even those bad things that are in your mini fridge, God could take those experiences and use them for good if you give your heart to him. Amen. And that's how we do it. It's a good sermon, but also way longer than intended.
I was going to say, you get disqualified, DQ, but you still beat me because you had a 3.9.
DQ.
So
you know what I think when I think DQ? Soft serve ice cream, absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely, a blizzard.
We did. Oh, literally, we had one of those in Texas the other day. Not the point. But anyway, that's
true.
That's
true.
our segment here. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna be right back. And this is a game, kids, that you can play with your friends when you're like most of you are going to be. I was gonna say most of you are stuck on a bus for 24 hours. Here I am still thinking about old conferences. You're all at home in your PJs. So if there's one person there with you, and play the game with them. If not, get together with your small group and play it on Zoom, because why the heck not? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Not only are there full-length shows of this show that you are currently watching right now over on YouTube, but there's also a ton of other stuff. We have a bunch of fun videos where we go into some pop culture things. We've got magicians. We've got comedians. We've also got full-length talks from myself, other professional speakers. So if you are enjoying the Seek Conference or you're just looking for a boost in your faith, head on over to youtube.com/Forte Catholic. Hit subscribe and check out some of those talks there. Thanks. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll. That is Olivia Eugene Harrison. And we have another segment that we like to do here on the show called Chicken Soup for the Schroll. Now, this is going to take a little bit of explanation. My usual demographic, people, young adults, people my age, know about a book series from when we were kids called Chicken Soup for the Soul. If any of you college kids know it, it's probably, if you've gone to like somebody who's 30 years or older, it's probably a book sitting like on their toilet. Like it's around there sometime. It's like explain Chicken Soup for the Soul books to our people here, Olivia.
It's just like lots of like the original, if anybody even has it. It's just great stories, like really nice. It's almost like Hallmark as a book. You know what I mean? Like everything's happy in it. There's nothing bad. It's all lovely and So if you ever need to feel good about the world and humans, it's a book that you would go and read. You can read each story in like a minute. Like it's really short. So yeah, it's not like a chapter. You don't have to read it from cover to cover. It's like, oh, I'm just going to open it up and read this one little story about this little girl that got a dog that saved people from a fire. I don't know. Like it's always like really sweet and like nice and I don't know.
I've seen that movie. Yeah, they made that one into a movie.
Exactly, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, just like you were saying, like positive stories for if you're ever feeling down. And like the reason we started this segment was because, I don't know about you guys, but for the last year, a lot of people have been feeling pretty down. So we're like, okay, my last name is Schroll. That kind of sounds like soul. So let's do Chicken Soup for the Schroll, our version here on Forte Catholic of positive, uplifting stories from our lives. So again, we're keeping this college themed. So we're going to be talking again about our college experience and some positive stories from that point. So my first one needs a little bit of backstory. So I grew up Catholic, grew up in the church, going to CCE. I mentioned earlier, like I was just bored out of my mind. Mass is the same thing over and over again. Our CCE classes, youth ministry classes were so boring. And it wasn't until later in high school, going to a conference just like the one that you're at now, that I finally realized like, oh, like you could be like a person of joy and like be Catholic. Like that's pretty neat, right? So like I thought like being Catholic meant like you have to like you had to like chant and be super silly and or like super
serious.
The opposite of silly. Yeah.
Not what we are.
So right, exactly. So I when I got into college, like I had a relationship with God. Like I really loved the church. I loved church teaching. I loved learning about it. I loved scripture. But I didn't really have like a personal prayer life. Like I wasn't like I would go to mass and I'd go to adoration. Like during adoration, I went to adoration a lot. I would like read scriptures and like read devotionals. But like the sitting down, talking with God, having a conversation, and like silence has always been hard for me. I don't know if you've noticed, but it just has. But like that relationship with God, where they're talking about it all the time at this conference. Like oh yeah, like a personal relationship with God, to have conversations with him, tell him about your day, and then sit quietly and listen. And hopefully he says something. He's never talked to me, but hopefully he says something to you. So it wasn't, so I was even like in campus ministry. I was helping with retreats. I was leading worship and all this stuff, right? Like that's how I connected with God. But after my freshman year, there was another, at the time, young lady. She's super old like us now. She actually lives right down the road. But she was like, hey, like we're starting this prayer group for people who like truly want to grow in their faith at this campus where they're trying to take it away from us. So what we started doing is she was kind of the lead on this. She got together like a group. It was about five or six of us, usually about 5 every time we met. We met once a week on Tuesday night at like way late, like 10 o'clock at night. And we would get together and we would just pray. Like every now and then we do a little bit of praise and worship, but like we just kind of like not roundhouse, that's a kick. Like round robin pray,
yeah,
right? I would pray, she would pray, he would pray. And like this praying together, like that was the first time that I was consistently like praying the things that were on my heart. Because we would pray for like, we were crazy in college. We'd pray for like, like other people were drinking and going crazy till the wee hours in the morning. We would pray until the wee hours of the morning. Like multiple times we would have it like at my house and they'd get there at like 10:30 and we'd kind of chat. And then we start praying at like 10:45. And they'd still be praying at like 12:15. I'm like, I have practice at 6. I'm going to bed. Y'all stay here, lock it on your way out, right? But a couple of things happened because of that. It's like, one, I learned like how important it is to like pray, not just with the beautiful prayers that the church teaches us. Like that's where I was. I knew how to say a rosary. I knew how to do Lectio Divina. I knew how to go to mass, obviously go to mass and like enter into mass. I knew how to go to adoration. I knew all that stuff, but it was like telling God what was on my heart, the good, bad, the ugly, the everything in between, right? I learned that through this group, and it took somebody else inviting me into it, but it also took like the consistency of the group continuing to meet. But like, not only did we grow like spiritually through that, and it like we saw fruits of our prayer, but also like we grew as a community. Like when things got hard on campus, because we're all just kind of tired of fighting for our faith all the time, we could lean on each other, and like we're still really, really good friends to this day. So just that was really special for me. And like when I think of college, it's one of the first things that I think about is that group of people praying really late into the wee hours in my guest room at my house.
I love that. So you got to live in a house though. That's kind of cool. You got out of the door.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I lived in the door my freshman year.
And then you were done.
And I heard things that I never want to hear again. So I got out as quick as I could.
That's awesome. No, I love that. Yeah, I have similar. I grown up in youth group. I think I kind of went into college with this big idea because I grew up in youth group. I started giving talks when I was 13 on retreats, and I wrote my first retreat when I was 18. So when I went off to college, I was like really already into, the whole Catholic scene and whatever that was. And there was this program, and it's still around, but not every university has it, but it's called Awakening. And it's this big retreat program, and it came from Curcio, which is the mothership of them all. And it's like the college Curcio or the college Walk to Emmaus kind of a thing. And a lot of universities have it. And at Tech, it's called Raider Awakening. And I had heard about Awakening because I live in Houston and everybody goes to Texas A&M. So I'd heard about Aggie Awakening and Longhorn Awakening. You're getting a theme, right? Like it's like whatever. Tiger Awakening over in Louisiana.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
They do that. No, I'm just kidding. That's how you
That wasn't God. That was Snoke, by the way.
For people who don't know. So I had been looking forward to Awakening since I was in 8th grade. So when I got to college, I was so excited. I was like, yes, I get to go. I was like so pumped. I was probably there like early, like sign up or whatever. And it was totally my dream come true because it was 250 college kids on the, I think there were 90 that were like on it as retreaters, and then everybody else was staff, and there's no adults, like maybe adult, like maybe one. Everybody else is like college kids, and they put on this whole shindig. It was so my jam. Like I was like, this is like, I just want to live here, and I loved it. So I became really like Like, I mean, the awakening community was my life, and it was just everything. And there's even stuff that you do after awakening called Fourth Day, and like it just went on and on and on, and I loved it. And then my husband and I, at the time, he wasn't my husband, we started this whole ministry called The Rock, and they had it at A&M for a long time. Like, both of the campuses had it for like almost 15 years. And so it just really like got into this space. Well, this is kind of a little bit of a sad story, but it gets happy because I know Taylor's going to get nervous. But when I was 21, okay, so this is entering my last year of college because I did it in 3.5 years, I had got elected to be the MC for the conference, which is called Rector at Texas Tech for the fall semester. So it was going to be my last semester as an undergrad. I was going to be the rector, which means I'm on stage with a microphone, leading all 250 people, literally my dream.
Is that where the word came from? Like,
I don't know.
I'm in charge. I'm the rector.
I'm the rector.
We got director, the director of the retreat.
Yeah, I don't know. Like at Tech, the rector is that person, but it can be different on different awakenings. But that's what we called it, rector. And then there was the coordinator who was like the one that was like type A that knew like what time we should do things and like to like take baths, like all that, like normal things. I'm not good at that. Like, I'm not going to tell you when to eat.
Was this before showers?
I'm just saying, like, they like kept up with the schedule. That's my job was to keep everybody like laughing.
Speaking of keeping up with the schedule,
yeah,
get on with the show.
Exactly. You would have been the coordinator. I would have been yeah. So anyway, I was really excited. Well, in the spring, because you find out early. So in the spring, I got really sick and I had to go into the hospital and I had to have emergency surgery, kind of like with you. I was literally hours away from dying. I had a staph infection that was about to hit my bloodstream and they had to remove it surgically. And so I was over like night in the hospital for a while and my mom had to fly in from Houston and it was like big drama, right? And I'm 21 and I'm like, the
super uplifting.
First thing I thought of, no, I'm getting there, is like, I'm not going to get to be rector, which is like not till October. And this is happening in like February. One of the first things before my mom even got to town was I like came in from the recovery room, you know, because like after surgery you have to recover. And I came in my room and it was filled with students. This is again before, you know, pandemics when humans could go places. And the entire...
It was really close to the Spanish flu pandemic.
It was 1919. Yeah, exactly. So we all still had our masks. Thanks, Taylor, for reminding me. And it was filled with like the entire student center, like kids I didn't even know, you know what I mean? And they all had like they all had signs and they all had like, they had the musicians, they were like singing like the dorky, like awakening songs, you know, and they had like all the things and like they were all there. And it was, like I said, my mom was even there, like she couldn't get there fast enough, you know what I mean? Because she was on an airplane. It was so cool. Like it was the first time I have goosebumps. Like it really was this beautiful thing of for the first of my life, really understood the whole concept of community, especially Catholic community. And that was a really big moment for me. So see, it was a good story in the end, Taylor.
It was. And both of us has the theme of community. And here we are wrapping up the show for this, you know, we're really excited to be invited to be part of the Seek conference. And obviously this year is very different. Like people are watching this in small groups or alone. And like both of us talked about like communities that we found in college around faith things, right? So I know a lot of groups are watching this like as a small group. There are people watching it alone. And then there are people listening on the regular Forte Catholic feeds that are listening alone or with their families or whatever. So my encouragement, especially for those of you guys at the conference, would be to like take this opportunity from Seek and what is that quote unquote fourth day, the day after the conference. How are you going to be able to continue to grow in faith with the people on your campus, even if you're meeting virtually? How can you continue to grow to pray together? Because that community is so important, and it was a huge part of both of our experiences in college. Well, Liv, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Taylor.
We did it.
We did.
You made it. You made it through the show without doing anything that's going to scandalize the children. I'm very
so
happy
proud.
about that. I'm proud of you too. So, if you are listening to this for the first time, first of all, thank you. We hope that you enjoyed it. Our goal is to bring the joy of the gospel to people. So like, yes, like it's like the whole youth group thing, right? Like let's have some fun and then hopefully grow in our faith and you know, find a little bit of one or two nuggets on the way out. So you can always subscribe to the show, Forte Catholic, wherever you listen to podcasts or on YouTube. We have also got all kinds of other things to help you grow in your faith there and at fortecatholic.com. If you are one of the women folk, especially, you want to check out Liv's podcast called Talk to Me with Liv Harrison, wherever you listen to podcasts. I am Taylor Schroll. You can find me on social media at Taylor Schroll anywhere. She is at the Liv Harrison. All that will be down in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for listening. God bless you all, especially those of you at the Seek Conference. I hope that you are having a tremendous week and growing closer to God. For those of you, our regular listeners, thanks for being with us. God bless you, and I'll be back next week. Say it! Thank you guys so much for watching or listening to today's show. I truly, truly appreciate it, and I hope that you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed making it. If you did, don't forget, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We'd love to get connected with you guys on social media at Taylor Schroll or at Forte Catholic over on social media. God bless you guys, and I'll be back next week.